In display, you're able to look at your content settings. Welcome to Marketing Beat. I am Amit. I don't know why that makes me laugh every time. And I am a PPC consultant, strategist, whatever you want to call it. I've got about 9 years of experience, and now I own and operate my own online marketing advertising agency that focuses just on pay-per-click. Beverly Teresa will be joining us in a little bit, hopefully. And she is a social media consultant who helps you make your social media not suck. Hopefully I did her justice. So yeah, let's get started with what I start with on a quick audit. I think the first thing that you need to look at, and it's probably a no-brainer, but most people kind of overshadow it a little bit, is your campaign budgets. Making sure that they're actually realistic, and then also making sure that you're spending, I guess, like the right amount of money. So the math I usually do is 30.4. So for days. So say we've got $1,000, I'll divide it by 30.4. And we do that because if we actually look at the calendar and then do the math off of 365 days, it actually turns out to be 30.4 versus 30 days or 28 days or 31 days, which is a fun little fact that I think people that aren't in PPC now don't know. But yeah, that's the math that I've always used. So I think always starting with the budget and making sure that you're actually on track to spend the amount of money that you actually intended to without going over is crucial for a campaign. The second part is, or the second point, not part, is not falling for Google's default settings. So a big one is like the search partners, where they will advertise on ask.com or other websites in their network. And what actually generally ends up happening, it kind of turns your search campaign into like a brand awareness campaign somehow. And you don't really see a lot of conversion come through. Sometimes you do on the very, very rare occasion. But usually, I don't know. As long as I've been doing it, I really have not seen any value in doing or selecting search partners. And then the other half is actually ensuring that you have your location settings correct. This is one that can actually cost you quite a bit of money if you don't have it set up properly. So for some businesses, maybe like tourism, you'd want people who are searching about your location versus people that are searching in your location. So that in that instance, you would want to use the settings that Google has selected for you. But if you're a local business, you don't want people who are just looking, let's say for car repair in Edmonton, but they're not in Edmonton, because that's just going to end up being a waste of your advertising funds. And the chances of them actually coming to you are slim to none, because really in reality, if the person is in Red Deer, why would they drive to Edmonton to get their car repaired? So you have to be very careful with the settings that Google has defaulted to. This really feels weird doing this all by myself. I don't like it. The third point that I would look at when I'm doing a quick audit is the ad extensions, making sure that all the relevant ones have been selected or are being used, but they're also gaining impressions. Sometimes they get disapproved. Sometimes they just don't work. So you have to go back in. Thank you, Stay Uncomfy. I know that Beverly told me your name and I totally forgot. And I'm very sorry about that. But yeah, so ad extensions, making sure that they're enabled and you're using the ones that are relevant to your business. But then that they're also receiving impressions, because really at the end of the day, what's the point of having an ad extension and then it's not working, right? Number 4 would be ad testing, really. Oh, Chris, thank you, Chris. Number 4 is essentially just testing your ads, making sure that you have at least at least 2. I prefer 3. But now with Google's push with machine learning, we can actually write 4 descriptions and 15 headlines, and they'll mix and match everything for us, and then kind of present that to the user based off of what they think is happening. The problem with that is if they're making the decisions for us, they're likely not making the best decision. So we do have to keep an eye on like certain metrics, obviously whatever is actually valuable to you and your business when you're doing the ads or like running the ads, but you can let Google essentially create the ad for you in a sense. Sorry, I think Beverly might be. Oh, yay! I think so.
You don't need me. I've been watching you this whole time.
I know I saw it, but like it was weird not having you here with me.
Oh, you missed me. Okay, continue.
Okay. That was ad copy. So number 5 is low quality score. So you're gonna find the keywords that you want to improve on. So a lot of the times when you're not really properly managing a campaign, or sometimes you're not even properly managing, if you just don't have enough time for it, one of the quickest wins that you can make is by just going into your account and looking at the quality score of each keyword. And if you're ranking less than 6, screw you, Brian. If you're ranking less than 6, you want to make sure that you're actually improving on those keywords. So take a look at your ad. Are you using the keywords or the keyword in the ad copy? Are you using it in the display URL? Are you using it in your ad extensions? It's a great place to put it too. And then look at your landing page. Does your landing page essentially say the same thing? If we're talking about car rentals and my ad talks about car rentals, are we going to move people to a page that is trying to sell them a car? Or are we moving them to a page that's trying to get them to rent a car? And those two differences, although semi-similar, really make a big difference in terms of what your quality score is going to look like. So just keep a close eye on that, because the lower your quality score, the more money you spend. And the higher your quality score, the less you spend. So, yeah, do it.
Why am I even here?
I don't know. Because I need someone to be here with me. Yeah, so this one's a bit, that's not a tricky one. So making sure that you're bidding per keyword versus per ad group. So a lot of accounts I've seen have literally just been like, we want to spend $3 per click on each of these keywords. And that's great, and it's fine. The problem is that each keyword performs differently, even if it's by match type. So what are you doing, Beverly?
Going. Continue your life.
Yeah, each keyword and in match type performs differently. So what we need to do is actually have different bids for each of them, because the quality score also changes as well. So I always do everything by individual bid versus by an ad group level. It is a bit more tedious, but I feel like it actually pays off quite a bit more. Number 7's, oh God. Okay. I want everybody to hear me very clearly on this one. Seriously. Negative keywords make a difference. Stop making that face. I cannot deal with an account that I've inherited that does not have negative keywords, even if it's just a universal list, right? Every account that I start with has a universal list. I think it's about 15 words or so, very small, but covers what it needs to. And then obviously we grow it. And that's something that everyone should be looking at least on a bi-weekly basis, depending on the volume of your account. So if you're spending a ton of money, you should be doing this probably every single week. But if you're not spending a ton of money, monthly you might be able to go through monthly. Oh, Matt, I don't want to see your account. I'm like genuinely scared to ever look at that. But yeah, number 1, if you want to save money, and you want people to show up on your site that are actually qualified, expand that negative keyword list. So that's a great place to start looking when you're doing your audits, is just look at the search term reports and figure out what keywords are not worth your while, right? And then make sure you're also, in another tangent, make sure you're also, and this is number 8, sorry, make sure you're also mining for new keywords. So in that same search term report, look at what's getting tons of searches, so by impression, what's getting clicks, so I'll look at like CTR, and what's actually converting, and then turn those into their own ad groups as well.
For those that don't know what CTR.
Sorry, what?
For those that don't know, what is CTR?
Click-through rate. So that's essentially your impressions divided by, your clicks divided by your impressions times 100, which is percent, right? And that gives you the percentage of people that click through, that see your ad and then click through. So the higher the number, that means the more compelling the ad. And then you go further and do a look on conversion rate. And the same thing, it's people who clicked through and then converted. And then the higher you've got there, I mean, the more money you're making. So we want more. We want a higher CTR for sure.
Always.
Oh, God. Number 9 is define and target audiences and exclusions. So this is kind of more on the display side of things. They have content settings within display where you can actually exclude yourself from being shown in games. Can you use these tips on YouTube? Actually, yeah, to a certain degree. YouTube, it depends on your targeting for YouTube. So hold on, I'll touch on that in a couple seconds. I've got 4 more points. With define and target audiences and your exclusions, you want to make sure that you're actually targeting the right people, obviously. I've had a couple instances where I've mistakenly narrowed down my target far too much. Fuck's sakes, I'm never going to get through this.
It was better without me.
Just stop talking. In display, you're able to look at your content settings, so you can actually avoid being shown up in games, adult sites, which happens a couple sometimes. Oh my God, seriously, Beverly.
Sorry, continue.
This is going to be on YouTube, okay? Like, come on.
I'm editing it.
Okay, anyways, so yeah, you want to be very careful with your content settings. So sometimes when we're actually building out display campaigns, what ends up happening is we don't actually include any exclusions, and then we let it just go up for a free-for-all, and then all of a sudden we look at our placements and we see that we've been showing up on Pornhub or something, and we're like, oh, that's not really the greatest thing for our family brand. So it's a quick way to avoid some of those issues. Matt, stop encouraging her. And then make sure you're actually looking at devices. So when you're doing your audit, look at how your devices have been working. So TV, desktop, mobile, and tablet. And we can adjust bids on each of them, I think, unless they changed something recently. So sometimes some campaigns might perform better in mobile, and that's just how it is, especially if it's like a local search type of thing, versus something that would actually perform really well on desktop, maybe like home development. So what we want to do is just adjust our bids to reflect where we want most of our money to go, versus letting it, again, be a free-for-all and not actually adjust anything, and then leaving it and obviously losing a ton of money, which is not fun. Yeah. Stop. I can't deal with you. Reviewing the AdWords recommendation section. I know it's a bit of an odd one because most of that stuff is I guess, automated, but sometimes they come up with really great suggestions. We do have to remember that Google only does suggestions based off of where they're going to make more money, obviously, because they are a business. So we have to just take their advice with a grain of salt, but sometimes they actually have really great ideas for us to do. So just taking a quick 5 minutes during your audit to review that section is always a great idea as well. Number 12 is tracking all possible conversions. And in my notes, I wrote, for the love of God, please do this. There have been so many campaigns that haven't actually tracked conversions, and everything's based off of a hunch, where they're like, I feel like we've gotten more calls, and there's no actual evidence to support that. And the only way we're going to know how to put or where to put our money is by actually knowing where people are actually converting and giving us money back. Because really, at the end of the day, what we want to do is actually have a return on the investment versus spending a bunch of money and then calling it a brand awareness campaign, because really that's kind of bad. So yeah, if you have the ability, please set up conversion tracking. If not, I mean, reach out to somebody. There's some really great blogs out there that show you how to do it as well. But it's definitely super, super important. And the last thing is just ensuring that there have been changes in the account. So it's a little bit of a myth that I believe in, where there's an account level quality score. And that's based off of the amount of work that you actually do within the account. So you're just given like extra points in a sense by Google if you're in the account. So just make sure that you're making changes maybe every 14 days at the very least. If you're managing your own account and you're not able to hire someone to do it, I would just take a look and make sure that there have been changes in the change history report. And that's my 13-point AdWords audit. And I have a couple of questions in here.
Chris wants to know, I'm doing it.
Okay, go.
Chris wants to know, do your tips apply to YouTube?
Yes, for some of it, not all of them, because it depends on how you do your targeting, right? So some people choose keyword targeting within YouTube. Some people, I mostly do interest targeting. I'm not the biggest fan of just contextual targeting because I feel like it's just a free-for-all after a certain point and it's not fun. But yeah, you can apply some of these stuff. So like I think, oh God, I have to remember. Slide into my DMs later. We'll talk about it because I am drawing a blank right now.
Lucera Skin, is it more expensive to select only for mobile?
No, it depends on the industry. So it really depends on what keywords you're selecting, and it depends on how competitive it is. If your competitors are being managed by an agency, or if they just know what they're doing, you might see a hike in CPC. But if it's a low competition type of area, mobile might be a great place for you to start. Does anybody else have any questions?
Did I miss any questions? Please let us know if you have questions. Amit is only here for a limited time. What? I'm being serious, Amit. You told me to stop being silly.
Are you kidding me? You literally were blowing kisses at me.
There are 6 minutes left in our live broadcast.
Oh,
Would you like to ask Amit Kabra, AdWords specialist, anything?
Hop onto my Instagram and wish my brother a happy birthday. He turns 28 today and he's the cutest person in the whole entire world. After me.
I'm going to marry him, your sister.
Okay. He's already getting married, but you can try. And yeah, that's basically it. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.